Today's DIY is all about making frames. We love taking old rustic wood and turning it into beautiful new projects. You can use these frames for chalkboards or put chicken wire on them so you can add pictures, or you can put your little girl's bows on them.
Hi, out here today braving the storms. We're gonna try to do something we've never done before. I haven't ever sprayed this Rust-Oleum chalkboard paint. It works really well when you brush it. Use a fine brush to get it on nice and even. I'm gonna try to spray it because I wanna see if it gets a nicer, smoother finish. Because sometimes when I'm doing the art on there or writing the lettering, you can see the bumps in there and it makes it hard to write on. So let's see if this works. I got the other board sprayed with the Rust-Oleum chalkboard paint. Spraying it did work. It took a long time because I wasn't able to thin it out as much as I wanted to. I've got this stuff that I just picked up. I'm gonna try it out. It's the Krylon chalkboard black, and it seems to be a little bit thinner. It actually brushes a little smoother, and I prefer to brush it since you can't really thin it down as much as I'd like to spray. And we're gonna go from there. You'll see it gets a nice smooth finish on this little piece of scrap that I've got. Now that I've got all the paint on, I'm going to just run long smooth strokes from one side to the other, and that's gonna help the paint even out and be real smooth for my writing surface. One coat of this should do it. You don't need to add multiple layers. I've got some reclaimed wood here from an old fence. It's cedar. We're going to make frames out of this and repurpose it for that and put some chalkboards in them. So I'm going to show you how to make the cuts real quick. I've got the angle of the saw set up at 45 degrees. You can see all the tick marks here. You can go either direction with it if you need to switch. It's just a quick little flip on this particular saw. Pull this down and it'll slide any direction you want it to. But for now, we're just gonna do a 45-degree angle, and I'll show you how to do that without having to move your saw and get a real accurate cut. If you don't have a miter saw that makes these nice angled cuts, they sell a jig at most hardware stores that you can use a hand saw to get your 45-degree angle. Also though, you could just overlay it like this and keep a square, or just leave it like that right there, and then you just need like a little backer to get it flush to add strength. And I'll show you how to do that too. So you don't have to have all the fancy equipment to make this, it's pretty simple. The piece of wood that I cut earlier was 17 by 12. So I'm gonna measure this out. I don't want the interior of my angle on the inside to be more than my board is, so that it fits it real nice on there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm probably just gonna cut this off at an angle, and we'll do that now, and then I'll measure from there. Keep your hands out of the way, make sure everything's nice and secure. And I've got my triangle left over. I didn't need to trim the edge of the board because it's gone now because I trimmed that up. So, this inside angle, this is the outside and this is the inside of my cut. So, I'm going to measure from there. So I'm probably actually going to go 16 so that I have a little bit of overlap. So I'll just measure that. So I'm right here on the corner of the inside of the cut, the inside of my frame, and 17 is how wide my board is. If I go that far, I'm not gonna have anything to lay it on, so I'm gonna cut it to 16 inches instead, about an inch short, so I have a half-inch overlap on either side. And my line's right there. I like to do this, make sure you keep your hands out of the way, you don't want to lose a finger. And there's my board. It's real rough, it's still got dirt on it from being part of a fence, but we'll sand some of that off, some of it we may leave, depends on what you want. You can paint it, leave it rustic, however you want to go. So to get my other side, it's real simple here. I just line this up instead of measuring, because this is going to help me get square. Because sometimes when you measure, it can be off a little bit depending on where you draw your line at. Because if I was to draw a line right here, my board would be a little bit longer and it'd make it real hard to get it square. So what I do is I bring the blade down without turning it on and make sure that I'm directly flush right there. So now those should be just perfectly smooth. You shouldn't have any catch right here. If you're holding it tight, both sides should be like that. And that's how you get it nice and square. You can measure it out if you're better at measuring than I am, but this works for me. All the boards are cut. I need to get them put together. Now you can see my old wood is not uniform here. I've got a little bit of overage. I'll just sand that off to get it back square. What I'm more concerned about is that the inside is square here. Now that we've got our frame together, I'm going to sand it real quick, get those edges that came over a little bit because my board was a little bit different as it was plain. I'm going to seal this now so that it lasts a long time and kind of slows the aging process of the wood down. Now that our chalkboard's dry, I'm going to flip it over on my frame so that, because this is going to be the back of it, and you can see I've got that 1/2 inch overlay all the way around because I cut it a little smaller than the actual piece. We're going to kind of center it up there, and I've loaded my staple gun with 1/2 inch staples. This one will only run up to a 1/2 inch staple, so if you're going to put it on with this, you're fine. You don't have to worry about swapping your staples out. But I'm going to use the air gun because I'm lazy. Our frame is almost complete. I'm just going to measure out where I want the hanger to go. And that small little hanger will hold this chalkboard up pretty much anywhere you want it to go.
Here's our finished frame. Thanks, Zeb, for finally making a frame for my poster for all my vintage markets. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more DIY.